What is going on, Wise Guy here? Today I am joined with two very awesome people. I'll let them introduce themselves. So go ahead, alien-looking person.
Am I the alien? I'm
Yeah, yeah,
Simon.
Yeah, I think that's
I'm an
you.
alien.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry. Hey everyone, I am Simon. I've got about 15 to 20 years in the IT world. I work currently for a large IT company, and yeah, love technology and love growing people and seeing people exceed and excel in our industry.
Cool. And what is currently your primary job? Like, what do you mainly do now on a day-to-day basis, just as a general position?
As a general position, I work at the head of IT for a large company, and so I work both in many teams. I do lots of hiring. I do coding. I do management. I do some leadership stuff. I do training stuff. I do technical strategy, and I do a whole variety of things that happen at a senior management level in an IT company.
Sweet. Okay. All right. Just as a thing, I've got the chat room open for the people who are going to be watching this stream. So they might be asking questions about how to get a job or those kinds of advice as well. Since we've got you here. Okay. Next, we have Zach. So do you want to introduce yourself? What you're currently doing? What you're currently studying?
Okay, so I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Information Technology, majoring in Computer Science and Software Development at uni, Beacon, for
Sure.
anyone that's interested. I did about 6 months work experience, I guess, with a smaller company in IT. Um, yeah, that's about it for me. Not as impressive as the other guy.
Cool. And for those of you who are just tuning into my stream and have never watched my channel, I've been a developer for quite a number of years now, and I've been floating between engineering, consulting, and product development, design, and just a whole host of things. I do a lot of open source work as well. Basically, the topic of this discussion, I guess, is I guess it's a little bit inflammatory, but the question is, I guess we're going to start focusing on is are universities meeting the status quo that students expect of them, and are universities meeting the I guess the expectations that the industry places on them to be able to induct new computer science graduates into the industry. So first thing is we're going to get some facts on the table. So firstly, Zach, what exactly is your course? And can you, I guess, just list off some subjects that you do, just to kind of get an idea of what the courses are structured like these days?
Alright, so the course is, as I said before, information technology, which has a major in computer science and software development. So some of the units I do include programming. So I've done a couple of units that do programming in C Sharp, and I've done a couple of units that are more tailored for gaming, which are done in C++. Other than that, I do a lot of data structure and algorithm work, databases. Sort of, I have a wide range of units that I've done that cover a bunch of different topics. Currently, I'm doing computer networks, so it confuses me a bit sometimes.
Cool. And what was your primary focus at university, Simon?
So I did a Bachelor of Computer Science and a Bachelor of Science, so very heavily into the computing side of things mostly. My computer science, my science degree was in with a major in computer science. I did honors, and I was actually spent 10 years at university. So I was there for a long time.
Wow. Okay. That is a very long time. I did not know that, so that's pretty amazing. So I guess the first question is I'm going to direct the first question at Zach. Of all of your computer science courses, which one do you find the most useful, and which one do you find the least useful?
I mean, we did have a course that was how to use a computer. That was pretty useless.
Was that at university or was that at TAFE? Was that like
So my first year was at a TAFE that halfway into my second year at uni. So I didn't extend my time, but I also got a diploma out of it. So that was pretty cool.
Sure.
They had a unit that was. I guess they said that it was to sort of bring everyone on the same level, and then so that they could proceed there with everyone sort of at the same level. But the lecturer in the unit asked why I was there and why I even bothered showing up half the time. So
that's good encouragement, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it was a rather easy unit.
Sure. I've completely forgot to mention this. I have mentioned this before on some of my videos. So I did go to university and then I dropped out, which I guess gives me a kind of a weird bias. I don't want to say against, but it just wasn't for me, especially. Now I wanna kind of see if people have shared the same experiences with me as to what I felt. A lot of the negative things that I felt at university, and there was also a lot of positive things, and we'll come to the positive things which I don't think get enough attention in their own right. But some of the negative things that I basically experienced was that it wasn't so much about an academic endeavor as it was about who was right and who won. And it wasn't it wasn't about who was right and who was wrong. It was more about the feelings of a lot of the people around that. And I find that for a computer science sort of an industry and an area, I find that to be kind of a bit toxic, mainly because you're dealing with numbers, and at the end of the day, numbers are either right or wrong. Do either of you kind of feel that? I guess do you feel that transferring into industry? And to Zach, do you feel that that's kind of still the case, or I mean, do you feel like no, that's not the case at all?
Did you want to say something, Simon?
No. Yes. Always. So that's a weird question, a bitwise guy. Like, I think you're trying to make a little bit black and white there. The IT industry is so not black and white. It's not a numbers game, right? It's coding and software engineering is such a creative sport and such a team sport that there's so much opportunity, but the requirements from people are very diverse. It's not like these 10 things. All right, damn, you're in. You get a job.
Sure.
What I look for, I hire a lot of people, and I work very closely right now from industry with universities. And what I'm looking for is, yes, at the university level, certainly some basic skills and some good skills there, but so much more. It's your approach, and it's your attitude, and it's how you think about and how you interact with people. That is so much more about what engineering is these days in the world. So yeah, I just think it's just not black and white. And when I transitioned, I was 8 years in when I transitioned, right, to industry. And I was actually so surprised at how cool and how great it could be to use my skills to help people. That's what actually sucked me into industry. I was very happy at uni, in researching into artificial intelligence and whatnot. It was a great time. And then I realized that I could actually use my skills for the greater good of the world, and that really excited me. And so that was a really fun transition.
Sure. That actually led me to the next question, which I know you'll be very happy to answer. I think. So we, as in, I guess the both of us, but as in also the wider IT industry and university, how much of the responsibility do you think we as people in industry who, I guess, develop the technology out of a necessity rather than an academic endeavor, how much of a responsibility do we have to basically give that back to the universities and say, hey, look, this is what we're currently doing now, and this is what we need from of students in the next 2 years or 3 years?
Well, I don't think we have a responsibility. I think it's in our interest. So there is an absolute shortage in great talent in this country. right? There's a
Sure.
massive shortage. It's very hard to find people. Coming out of education is not enough. Really top talent. And if you look at the stats of how many people I would hire or a company like mine would hire at the top end of the engineering, and it's a very low percentage of students that would actually be on our list of people we wanted to hire. So I think we have an obligation for ourselves and for the industry to really start to feed back to universities and encourage them and interact with them so that we can ensure that they are growing students for the industries that we want.
Sure. I think that's actually a much more sensible kind of perspective than I have had on it previously. The next question I have is I think universities are trying really hard to keep up, and I've actually noticed that in the last 6 months I've changed my opinion on how they're structuring their courses. But I think that they're really wanting to keep up, but they're struggling. Do you think that we're just moving too quickly for them to be able to keep up? I mean, a new technology comes out every other day that everyone just jumps on top of, and then they use it for a couple of months as a new tool, and then they move on to the next thing. Do you think that there needs to be a new kind of way, specifically of teaching computer science, to keep up?
Oh, I can jump in quickly on this one.
Go for it.
For my course, is actually no longer offered to new students. So they actually, since I've started, have changed how the courses, what the courses are. So for me, as I got into it before they did that, I'm able to continue. But for any new student, it is a different course now. So I guess that's some sort of sign or indication that they are trying to keep up and, I guess sort of.
Sure.
I think they have to keep up. You know what? Me as a guy at work, I've got to learn a new front-end JavaScript framework every year.
Every 6 minutes, you mean?
Yeah, well, now it's so why shouldn't they, right? Why shouldn't they? And it's part of my job to be on top of that stuff. I need to know what does Ember bring, what does Phoenix bring, what does Angular bring, what does React.js and all that stuff. And it goes around in circles. But you have to be on top of that. If you want to hire people and you want to create and use and utilize the latest, you've got to be on top of that. I think a research organization like a massive university, they've got all the resources they need to be on top of that stuff. Do they have to teach every single student every single framework? Absolutely not. And you know what? I actually don't even test, on any particular or given framework. When I give a code test to a potential candidate coming for a job, I say to them, you know what? Write your solution to this question, this coding problem. Write it in any language you like. It doesn't really matter, right? If you've got a great style and a great attitude, the organization, we can teach you everything we need to know. So it's not actually the specific tech that matters. That said, there are lots of things that universities need to do in order to stay ahead of the curve, and it's not just individual tech. How about, for example, things like Agile? I think the universities have absolutely fallen behind in that regard. They say, oh yeah, we do it Agile. No, they don't. And I know that when their students come to my organization and have a tour or come and work there, they're actually shocked at the way we work. And I know for a fact that there are many lecturers who do not teach things in an Agile way. My personal opinion is that they should teach them Agile in the first week and run every single project, every single course, everything they do from then on with an Agile bent, with an Agile flavor, with an Agile style running. None of the lecturers that I've ever met would have an Agile board in their office. That's a failure.
I think that most definitely is a failure. So I want to talk about a little bit of an experience that I've had over the past couple of years, over the last 2 years, in fact. So we've been through, and I won't mention the company or anything, but we've rotated through numerous staff, and they've all presented actually quite awesome resumes. They've got a Bachelor of Computer Science from a certain university, some actually very reputable universities. And whether that be international or back home here, and if they seem to have a certain skill set. I mean, that's what they mention, and they come into the interview and they interview quite well. But over the next sort of 3 to 6 months, I guess they start to unravel in a way that you can really tell who understands what they're smashing out on their keyboard and who doesn't. For example, I'm currently dealing with a massive problem of we were working with 3 or 4 people on the one project, which is not a lot for obviously for what you do, but and the amount of anti-patterns and anti-designs that are in this thing simply because they don't understand the fundamental concepts of programming in that style rather than the language, and those are the sorts of things that are hard to detect, and those are the things that make me angry, and that I do shift a lot of the blame onto the universities for almost. I feel like it's a little bit of a churn in, churn out kind of a thing. You get these students in, and there's no time to sit down with them and explain things like object orientation in the level that I think it requires to not understand a language, whether that's C# or OOPHP, it doesn't matter what it is, but to understand what an object is, what all those kinds of things are, and then let them choose their own language. And as a result of that, as a result of them teaching a language rather than teaching a principle, and actually seeing whether the student understands the principles of the languages rather than the languages themselves, because it's very easy to go on Stack Overflow and ask a question, how do I write this bit of code? And you'll get some unique bit of code, and and the universities can run Turnitin or whatever, and I'm not saying it's even plagiarized, I'm just saying that a large majority of their understanding is taken from places like Stack Overflow without really understanding even lower level than that. I think that it starts at a place where you've got to understand that the high-level code that you're writing, what kind of assembly does it turn into? And I think that the both of us, that's kind of where we started, was that really low level, because of I guess the passion and interest that we both share for that low-level sort of engineering. And I would personally really love to see the universities stop teaching all this high-level stuff, especially in a bachelor's degree, and just take it back a step and say, well, actually, this isn't master's or PhD level stuff. This is the fundamentals. This is the building blocks for all other computer science. If you understand this, you'll understand how to stack all of the different pieces and components, and you'll be able to be a dynamic student. And I guess be your own engineer and be your own adventurer in this massively diverse landscape. What are your thoughts on that? Both of you, I guess. I'll just throw it out there.
Well, what you're arguing, I think there, Mr. Bitwise, is a kind of an age-old debate. Do you teach practical skills, or do you teach computer science? And some people argue that the foundations and the fundamentals that they teach in computer science are useless. Whoever in their, this is the classic example, right? Whoever in their real-world job has to write a sorting algorithm. You know what I mean? It's that kind of rhetoric that we get. I believe we need a bit of a balance. I think there are fundamentals and there are principles that people need at a foundation. But where I think we really need to move it up is in the product space. Right? I think what universities are mostly doing are preparing people either for the very deep computer sciencey things. So like if you're going to work for Google and optimize their algorithms, or you're going to work for some DNA company and write some really twisted algorithms there. So I think there's a lot of stuff you get from university at that kind of low-level, comp sci level. That's only useful for some of it. I think the majority of the market is looking for people who have broad software engineering skill, who can put together products. And I believe that most of the universities are preparing people for consulting more than they are for agile product development. And I think that's probably, for me, one of the big things that I think is kind of missing in that regard. But hey Zach, what do you think? Being a student today, do you feel like you're being fed comp sci heavy stuff, or too high level? Where do you think it's at?
Okay. So I guess this sort of brings into the first year being sort of a TAFE side of thing as well. For me, in my first year, we did a lot of high-level sort of things, where we did a lot of programming and putting together and developing applications that would work. And a lot of our assignments were developing something to show and present in class, I guess. And so that was more hands-on. And then once I sort of moved over to uni, we've been doing a lot more sort of low-level stuff, I guess. Sort of the thing that you mentioned before was like the sorting algorithms. We've been doing a lot of stuff about sorting algorithms. My last assignment was actually to do with sorting algorithms, to do with sort of quick sorts, merge sorts, Microsoft sorts, all sorts of things. So I feel like we have had a broad range, but yeah.
Sorry, I just want to ask a quick question to Zach. So actually, just kind of broadening that question. Do you feel like once you finish your degree, is it 3 years or 4 years or however long it is? I guess, do you feel like you could step off of that university campus and step into a programming studio or into some sort of computer science environment? That's probably not the right word. Like some sort of programming team or into some sort of networking team or whatever, and hit the ground running on day one. I mean, do you feel like you would be able to be mentored by people in that team, in the sense that they can point you to all of the things that they're specifically doing, but you have the understanding and the knowledge and the experience to be able to be a productive member of that team?
Well, I guess I have a bit of a unique sort of
forgetting your industry-backed experience.
Yeah, because I kind of had a bit of industry-backed experience.
Yeah. But if you didn't, like, just purely based on your course, like, do you feel like you would be able to hit the ground running?
Okay, so if I guess use the Google example again, and algorithms and sorting algorithms and optimizing those, I probably don't think I'd be able to go into that and really have much of a clue at the moment. But when it comes to sort of the programming stuff, where we actually are writing stuff in C++ or writing in any other application, I think once you sort of have picked up the language, you can have a bit of sort of a quicker getting up and running. Sort of, I guess with that experience that I did have working with you, is I started off sort of pretty slow, but sort of over the next week or so, you showed me a lot of stuff, and I guess by the end of it, I was a lot better than when I started. So
Sure.
I think the learning in the industry helped as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, is to have an industry-backed learning. Just a quick question. So, when you're gonna go and hire someone, this is for Simon. When you're gonna go and hire someone, if they've just come out of university and they finished their degree and they're really excited and they want to get into things, and I guess you need to put them into a position, and I know that you're very big on obviously guiding people along. A lot of companies don't have that ability to guide a lot of people along, because they don't have the resources to do it. And I'm honestly all for when they do have the resources to do it. I think that you can really mold your own employees to be and do what you need them to do. But for those who, I guess, don't have those kind of resources, do you think that the universities are currently putting out students that are able to be taken on by smaller companies that aren't doing consulting?
Oh, that's an interesting question. The big companies and companies of my size, we all have grad programs, right? And a grad program is like we set aside a certain number of seats that we will hire graduates into, and we put together these 2-year internal training programs where we get these, where we bring people up to speed, and we switch them around offices, and we give them we rotate them around projects and teams. We send them on lots of training, right? We do a lot of that, and obviously, given it's a team sport, as I mentioned earlier, we do lots of pairing with them and lots of that kind of guidance. So that's what you need. That's what we feel we need university, so that they can be developing products the way we feel products need to be developed. Now, I can't speak for everyone, and smaller companies, they do hire much more grads. Definitely, one of the reasons are they cost less, which is an important factor if you're a small company, and there's less support for them there. But it's a bit of a baptism of fire. You drop someone into an environment like that, and they got to they got to struggle hard. There'll be some people in that organisation that there'll be a handful of developers at least there, and they know they're hiring a young person, so they are gonna offer support and they are gonna try and help that person. It won't be anywhere near as structured as a company with a lot of resources can do. But your question is, can they hit the ground running? And I think there's a wide spectrum on the answer to that. I think some can, but I think many can't. And I think having the comp sci computery low level skills is one, but where I think we're really missing is at the higher level and at the product engineering is what I call it, the product engineering, and that's all the things around how to bring an idea to market, and it's not just coding. And then there's another aspect here, which is, I think, operations, and I think that's greatly overlooked in the universities. Operations I consider to be at least a third of the effort in bringing a product to market, right? So if you haven't got that, then that's a huge hole.
Sure. No, I think those are all really great points. Now, one thing I like to do on my streams is actually flip some things on their head, as I'm not all about bashing I guess, the focus of my thing. So I want to talk about some things that they're doing really well that I think that as an industry we're kind of lagging behind in. So I guess the first major question is, what do you think that the universities are doing better than us, and we're causing them to kind of have to not slow down, but I guess we're not meeting their expectations. Do you think there's anything in that area?
I'm thinking.
I know it's a hard one.
Yeah.
I've most definitely got one, but I'll let you go first.
Well, I think where universities excel is in leading edge technology, right? They are at the forefront of the latest algorithms and the latest this and the latest that, and the latest research on some of the latest and greatest stuff. And so they're definitely ahead of the curve. And certainly, I think large IT organizations struggle a lot more at that bleeding edge, right? So that's on the innovation front there. So that might be one.
Saying that though, whether that bleeding edge makes it down into a lecture, where a lot of the times it just feels like it's being talked at from something that they've got off a slide. I noticed it the other day actually, that a lot of my web development tutorials were slightly modified W3 schools tutorial things. So
Oh, wow.
Well, they're not bad.
yeah,
W3
they're not
schools
bad.
is the bane of the internet. What are you talking about?
Oh, I love those guys. I'm always searching their website for tips and tricks. They're awesome. It's a great foundation.
Oh man, they're the. Okay. So moving on. So
Bitwise snob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I have my reasons. But that's for a whole different video. But I guess a lot of my hatred comes from managing Freenode web and stuff. But so the next thing I want to do is I want to kind of, if we were to devise in literally like a minute or two some specific technologies that everyone should pick up and learn as a head start in the industry, if they were to watch this video. I'm going to give some of my things. Simon, I most definitely want some of your things because I know that you're also at heart an engineer and you love playing with technology and stuff. And I also want to, I guess I want to know what the sort of stuff that Zack actually is doing on a more specific level. So let's see, who's going to start first? Do you want me to start first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, I want to hear some of your stuff first, Mr. Bitwise.
All right, I'll go first, and then we'll go Simon, and then we'll go Zack. All right, so some of the stuff that I want to have some grasp, but I'll go into those after. So some of the technologies that I would most definitely recommend people learn. One of them would be C#. If you're going to pick a language, and that's obviously after you've learned all of your fundamentals of programming and stuff, without ever learning a language. So that's just my opinion. I think you should always learn about how to program rather than to program. I would definitely recommend C# at the moment. If you just for a few reasons. One, the industry is just like sucking up C# like you wouldn't believe. It's everywhere. It's left, right, and center. People are hiring if you know C# in the whole Microsoft technology stack, and I'm gonna get called a Microsoft shill any second now. I can feel him being like shill. But no,
I was thinking zombie, but that's okay.
I was also thinking back to this time last year, or maybe a bit further back.
I'm gonna get shot down. I'm gonna get shot down. I think even if you watch
where someone was very anti-Microsoft and very, very C++ is the way to go, and C# is a horrible language. But
yeah,
like he was forced to.
Here comes the truth.
So he's been forced to use C# for the last few years, and I think his perspective has changed on it.
Yeah, well, do you know what I've learned to do? I've learned to take my politics out of programming. That's what I've most definitely learned is keep your politics out of programming, because it'll often bite you really hard. So the next thing I would recommend to learn is ES6 or ECMA 2015, Webpack, and the whole Babel.js stack of things, especially if you're going to be a web developer. I think that it's really useful. And if I had to pick a systems language, not purely for the job prosperity side of things, but more so for the I guess the pure enjoyment of it, would be the Rust programming language. If you're looking to do something in like a systems kind of thing, Rust would be my pick of the day. So that's what I recommend to any computer science students that are going to watch this or are watching this. Go and I guess learn Rust if you wanted to learn something low level. That's actually, and I just want to mention one more thing about university, since that is kind of the focus of our talk. So when I did my computer science course, we started with free Pascal. Now, I don't know of anyone using Pascal anymore, or free Pascal, let alone free Pascal. I don't even know anyone using Delphi, like object-oriented Pascal. And that's the kind of thing that does really bother me, is the fact that they have these teaching languages. They call them teaching languages, right? And they go ahead and they just seem to pick a language which they feel is the best language to teach, I guess, programming in. But often these languages have been abandoned for very good and very specific reasons. Not short of being fairly complicated and syntactically terrible languages. I think that there's a certain responsibility that they bear on picking the right language the first time around, so that we don't have people doing some very strange sorts of code when they finally get to languages that, I mean, ultimately the industry isn't really using too many languages. We're using, I guess, C, C++, C#, and then we've got the SQL side of things and all those sorts of things. But we're not using many of these super obscure languages that that seem to be being taught, and I don't understand why they're being taught. I guess that's the main point. So I'm going to throw over to Simon firstly. So I'll just structure the question for you. First thing is, for a CS grad, what's the technology stacks you would recommend learning once they finish their course, and I guess if they're really passionate during their course, and then what are some of the weirder things that you know of that are being taught and that you can't really see a good reason for, and what would you switch them over to be?
Well, you kind of get into specifics here, aren't you, Mr. Bitwise? And so, I'm not sure I want to be dragged into that with you.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're getting into the specifics here of stacks, and I don't always recommend that anyone really get into stacks. I mean, them fighting words.
I know.
But if you're going to push me though on what you should be learning, I think there's three things. I agree with you on the Webpack side of things. The build, how do you construct a package and how do you build it, Babel and Gulp and Webpack, those kind of things, you've got to be able to put that together these days. They are seeming to start now to become pretty much industry standard around how to put together a front-end package and deliver that.
Which kind of disturbs me in its own right, but I'll go over that in another video.
Secondly, I'd say you'd need to have something on the operations side, and I'm thinking cloud and operations. If you're missing out on how to use cloud technology, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Azure, AWS, Heroku. There's a number of these things out there today. It doesn't matter which. Get yourself into that. You've got to understand how your technology will live in production. And if you don't understand that, you're not finally attuned with every line of code where it's going to run and how it's going to run and how it's going to be delivered, then what you deliver to production is useless. Thirdly, I'd say on the security side, you've got to think about what you want there. So you can't build code today that does not consider security. If you're building it from the ground up and it's not secure, then your stuff is useless. You'll be hacked and you're out of there. So things like OAuth are probably a good place to start because that's the whole identity management piece and the login piece that you need, and it's now a standard and doing quite well. If I had to pick one particular technology, I had what you had as well. I would say, ES5, ES6 kind of stuff, JavaScript basically. I think it's a very versatile language. It's a language that if you want to build for the web, you must know, and it can also be used on the back end now with Node. So, I think that's a good one. Interestingly, when I was at uni, there was a couple of teaching languages. One was specific. It was called Turing. It was a language specifically developed to teach. But really, the first language I really fell in love with was a language called Scheme. And Scheme is a Lisp-like language used in artificial intelligence, and it's a functional language, but it also had closures. And turns out was the guy who wrote JavaScript. Scheme was also one of his favorite languages, and he put in things like closures in the language actually in JavaScript also come from Scheme. So that's one of my first loves. But I disagree with you, Bitwise Guy, on there's only a couple of languages out there. I think there are many that people are using today, and so I would encourage. No, I think there is Clojure, Ruby, Scala, PHP. If you look at that, and I'll let you know if I rephrase it in a second. If you look at things like, the top programming languages today, there are so many emerging languages and frameworks and etc. right now. I mean, I'm a big fan of this new language called Elixir, which is built on an old language called Erlang. But there's people are experimenting in production. So you've got your standard. I mean, Java is still the #1 language by a country mile. It's in most places. It's got most installations.
So I have some stats here. Yeah. So Java ranks in at #1 with 24% of the programming market share. At #2 is Python, which actually kind of surprises me a lot. PHP.
Which index are you looking at? RedMonk or Tiobe or what?
Popularity of programming languages. So I don't know how much this is in the industry.
Every index measured it slightly differently, and you got to look at what you're measuring. So just be clear on that, because under the 3 or 4 major indexes, different languages appear in the top 10.
Sure. So my source here is pypl.github.io, which I will admit it's the first thing that I clicked on when I googled just now during this live stream. But according to this, which seems fairly accurate. This is based on searched Google. Okay, so it's not entirely accurate in terms of industry, but it seems fairly accurate in terms of what people are looking for. So C++ is #6, JavaScript's #5, C# is #4, PHP is #3, Python's #2, and Java's #1. There's a whole bunch of ones underneath. So I do want to rephrase. So what I specifically mean is that someone who walks literally off a university campus and has to pay their rent and has to buy food and all those kinds of things, what language should they invest their time into to be able to get a job, in the next 3 weeks? If they need a job in the next 3 weeks, and they were able to perfectly master a specific language or even stack, I guess, like a specific stack like the ES6 stack, which includes Webpack and Node.js and all those kinds of things, what would that be? For me, that would be C#, or if they're living in Australia, it would probably be C#. If they're living in the US, I would say that's probably Java or JavaScript, and even JavaScript in Australia is massive and it's on the rise. So that's what I basically meant.
If you're looking for a job, then I would say Java is still the #1 for getting a job. It is still the #1 language. It's the most used language in enterprise. It's the most used in all the banks. And so, given that there's so many jobs in Java, all the consulting companies who are consulting to enterprise, Java is their number one. So, you find more of the obscure ones in product companies who are looking for, innovative edge. But if you're going for, if you need to get a job out of uni, then I think JavaScript's number one because that'll get you, a front-end job. But then number two would be Java, and number three, I say, would C# because it's also still quite popular in the enterprise.
So I think C# is most definitely going to take over Java at some point. Mainly just because of the direction that Microsoft is going with it. So I want to come back to Zack. What's the stack of technologies that you have covered in your course so far?
Well, I've been holding on to this for a while because I was going to say, if we go back to high school, I learned Visual Basic, so not sure what. I don't know if that was a VCAR requirement or I'm pretty sure they said you could pick whatever language. But my school decided Visual Basic was the way to go. So
sure.
I think it's a great language. I think it's a great language. I didn't learn it at uni, but I taught it at uni. I was a tutor, and a lot of the mature age students coming in looking for a first language, that was the big one in industry at the time. And so you could build GUIs and full-blown desktop apps in a matter of moments. And I used to teach it, and I got to tell you, within the first 2 hours of anyone touching a computer language for the first time, I would have them writing a game in their first lab. I think it's a really productive language.
I don't like that. That annoys me. And I'll tell you why it annoys me. I'm not being one of those back-end, dusty old engineers.
Political views coming again.
No. C# is my favorite language, so I guess that doesn't help you there. But the reason I don't like Visual Basic is because I think that it teaches a lot of it's not a very well structured language. It's super verbose, and I don't think that it's well structured. And I think that it gives people a false sense of security in terms of like, okay, well, this is what you're in for. Way too much is provided to you in Visual Basic, and not in a super practical way down the line. Like, yeah, you can pull a game together or whatever, but if your goal, I guess, is to build something like DayZ or whatever else, I think that you're gonna get this weird sense of like, okay, well, I can do everything in Visual Basic. I don't know. I just feel like it's not the first language I would teach someone, but what do I know?
Not now, but back then maybe.
Well, okay, yeah, back then for sure. Maybe.
To continue though, so since starting uni, I've done JavaScript, PHP, SQL, HTML, C#, C++. Yeah, that's about it. Just on some Ajax. It's not really programming, but
that's pretty good. That's a good stack right there. That'll get you a job easy.
But I want to touch on
PHP's pretty popular still.
I want to touch on something, and that's actually fairly common. We did the same sorts of things. My problem with that is, and I'm kind of going to dig something up here, is at what level that they're taught at. Hello World isn't probably going to get you a job, and that's, I feel like, the level that it's being taught at. I mean, am I wrong there?
Well, so the assignment that I just did for web programming, so this is a second year web programming thing that I didn't do in my second year, silly me, is we just had to use Ajax. So we had to do a lot of JavaScript and XHTML requests and a whole bunch of stuff. And then I know the next assignment for this course, or maybe the third one, then starts to integrate PHP into it. So I feel like it's not to the level of just Hello World.
Okay, I'll take that. Did you want to ask any questions, Simon?
No, I'm good.
All right. What's the time? All right, so we've been live for about 40 minutes. Oh, actually, there was one more thing. I wanted to stress the importance of portfolios and extracurricular work. So when you go and looking to hire someone that isn't going to be inducted through your internship programs or whatever else, how important is it as far as showing that the student is motivated in this field and that they have an understanding of what's going on, or even just a desire to learn new things. Like, how important is it that you have something like a GitHub portfolio, which shows your open source contributions, and having, you know, like that overall, I guess, presence about you. And then also, I want to kind of strap on one more thing. I'm going to press you also for this. Do you think the universities need to also be teaching how to interview for computer science jobs?
Yeah, I think it is definitely is a part of the university's role is to get people ready for industry, and if that means learning how to do a job interview, absolutely. Right? There are good ways to interview, and there are bad ways to interview, and these kids coming out don't necessarily have it. So yeah, I definitely think that you know, that's a good idea.
And the other question?
Which was?
I don't even remember. That's so bad.
To be honest, your very first question I kind of forgot, so I passed that over to Simon.
You ask such long questions.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I try to not like melt the brains of people.
Oh, I know your question. Your question was how do they preparing people for the industry?
Oh no, sorry. I do remember my first question.
GitHub account.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, actually, you know what? Actually, yes. So my question was originally, should a student, is it a good idea for a student to, I guess, participate in a lot of extracurricular activities, and open up a GitHub portfolio and try and create something that would be useful for people, even if just to show that that's their motivations and that's their passion is programming, is computer science. You know, whether it's writing a spec for something or it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you know, does it show that they want to, you know, learn? But I guess actually you made a good point. Is should that be part of the university's role? And I guess should that be part of all the computer science courses? Is to open up a GitHub portfolio and to have all of their work on there on display at all times, and also, you know, have more of a group kind of project where, I mean, I'm a very firm believer that in the last year. The entire year should just be spent on one, you know, kind of project or one kind of program where 5 or 6 or 7 of you get together in a team, and you know, and you have to build a product that you could sell. And I think that that would do a few things. I think one, it would open up a lot more industry. It would open up a lot more companies, because, you know, at some point you're statistically likely to get at least one thing that's even mildly successful. Two, I think that it pushes students to think for themselves, and there's a lot of spoon feeding that goes on. And I think that once you're on your own, and you have to, you know, fend for yourself. That means researching for yourself, and when you do your own research, I think that some of the best engineers and the reason that a lot of people drop out of university who feel very frustrated with the whole system is that they feel like the depth of information and knowledge that they can gain by having that barrier of no one spoon feeding you is deeper. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, in a really short question is, do you feel like there should be? Yeah, I know I've rambled.
He's getting to it, Zach. He's getting to the question.
Oh, wait, what?
I think he's on question number 5 in this statement right now, in this rant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you Bitwise guy? Let me answer. You've asked basically 2 questions there.
Okay.
Number one is, number one is, I think, as I mentioned when I started, there's 2 things I look for: skills and attitude. And attitude really comes down to passion. So that's one of the most things I'm looking for, is passion for the industry. Should you mandatorily have a GitHub account that is open for you, blah blah, everything on display? No, I think GitHub contributions do show passion, but they're only one aspect of that. There are many ways to show passion. You can do public talk, you can do talks at meetups, you can attend meetups, you can go to hackathons on the weekend. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can have. I always ask. So tell me, what are your personal projects? What are you working on? Doesn't matter if it's public or not, right? So passion is number one. On the front of universities and giving people product experience in teams, well, guess what? Some of them are actually do that. My organization, we support Monash University. Monash University run what they call the IE project, which is the industry experience, where they get, you know, teams and teams and teams of postgrads. They work in five at a time. They're given a public data source, and they've got to turn it into a useful app. And they use the industry partners like myself to supply mentors to help guide them in product development. That is an awesome initiative. Monash are doing that now for a couple of years, and it is fantastic. It's great both for the students who get to see, get to experience in a team environment, working together to solve and build a product, right? That is the number one thing I reckon they're probably doing their entire course. But B, it's also good for my organization and the other organizations who are mentors because we get experience in mentoring students. So that's a really good thing. Zach, is there anything like that at your uni?
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I'm pretty sure there is in third year just a unit that is entirely work experience.
Okay. So that was something that I was not aware of because my specific university didn't. As far as I'm aware, I don't want to make any statements that are that I'm going to say as fact. But as far as as far as the information that I was given, there wasn't any of those things. In fact, what I found was kind of interesting was my personal work and my personal experience, and even my own job, was almost discredited by them trying to basically sell me their industry partners. And I felt very uncomfortable, and I don't very often feel uncomfortable with anything, but I felt very uncomfortable with the way that was pushed onto me. But it does give me a lot of good feelings to know that it's probably just a very specific case and that it's not a widespread thing, because that's not something that I want to be widespread, and it's not something that I could speak towards or against because I've only obviously been to one. So okay, that's all pretty good. I don't think.
I guess for you, with uni though, where uni probably didn't suit you as well, is because you did a lot of open source development and stuff before you even got to uni. So
sure, I guess
first year for you would probably have been horrible because you would have just been learning things that you already knew. It would have been very boring. So maybe, I guess, to sort of remedy that would be something where you can show your knowledge of things and they might be able to give you credit towards it already. So you might be able to skip a year.
That's actually, thank you so much for reminding me. That was one of my main talking points that I forgot about. Do you feel like the stigma of not having a degree in the computer science industry is becoming less and less as all of these things, I guess, come to light, but more importantly, as people are becoming more self-motivated and teaching themselves to a much larger depth than is being covered currently?
I'm looking for skills. I'm looking for mostly passion. I'm looking for teamwork. I'm not looking for a degree. Okay,
that's the general consensus I'm feeling. I don't know. I want to finish off with a closing statement here that I've already put forward in another video, and you guys can also, I guess, put forward your own closing statements if you want, since we're about to finish up the live stream. My feeling is that if you want to be at the cutting edge of development and technology, and you want to be someone who pursues academic research, and you're not specifically interested in becoming CEO of a company or whatever else. If your passion is researching without borders, I guess that will be imposed on you within a lot of companies simply because there's a certain ROI that has to be met, return on investment. That the universities, I mean, they are businesses, but also they have a bigger focus on research and stuff. I think that you should definitely go and stick at university for as long as you can, and if that's your thing, I think that's absolutely great. I think the universities are doing a lot better job at being at the cutting edge of development because you can throw out 50 projects and it doesn't really matter at university. That's what all of their research and development budgets are for. You can't specifically do that in industry. It costs a lot of money to throw out 9 months of development or 5 years of development. I mean, there's been so many cases when that sent companies broke. However, if your only intention that you're going to university is to get a job and to climb up the ranks, and I guess and that kind of stuff, I don't think that university is a necessity, and I don't think that you're going to always gain the experience that you want. Sometimes you will, Sometimes it can be a great backing for your own research and your own learning and understanding, but I don't want people to feel as pressured as they often do. Oh, I've got to go to university so that I can get a job, or else I'll be basically homeless. Do you have any closing statements on that, or did you want to add anything else to our young and fresh and up and coming computer science students that might see this video?
Come work and build great products. It's a very exciting place. Looking forward to meeting you when you get out.
When you get out.
Yeah. And did you want to, Zach? Did you want to leave a message to universities or to anyone who's thinking of starting a degree in computer science?
No, I'm pretty good. I guess the whole topic of this video probably leaves a big enough message.
So
you need to learn how to swim, though. I can teach you that one.
If you need to learn how to swim, that's great. All right.
Self-plug.
Yeah, I guess. So the overarching, so the title of this video is, are universities failing their computer science students? I'm going to go with no. They're definitely not failing them, but there's definitely room for improvement. Actually, massive rooms for improvement. And I think that that's a two-way street, that the industry can most definitely help with that. People who are passionate about helping them along, such as myself, such as Simon, and the many, many other people that want to see students succeed and prosper and get the same enjoyment out of it that we do every day, rather than feeling frustrated like some students do. I think that that's going to be on us, and I think that the universities can help a lot with that. Simon, I guess I'm just going to ask you the broad brush question. Are universities failing their computer science students?
I don't think they're failing them, but I definitely think they owe them more. I think they should really change their focus to be helping them, prepare them for industry, not just preparing them for research. And I think probably it's probably a conflict internally in these big organizational institutions for that one. So I think there's a lot more they can do, and they should get a bit hipper, and it'll all be good.
Harsher than me. Okay. Cool. So that's pretty much it. And we're going to be finishing this up now. So thanks for your time. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're super, super busy with everything. And if you want to jump out of here, that's totally cool. I might just finish this up with Zack. In fact, I might be bringing someone else in to do a part 2 of this, but kind of on a completely different note. So thank you so very much for joining me, and I thank you for all your industry wisdom and insight. It's been super helpful, and I'm sure that everyone that sees this video tomorrow, since my time zones are all scattered for my subscribers all around the world, so in the next couple of days, as everyone sees this, I know that I have a lot of undergraduates and graduates alike that are looking for work. They'll really, really appreciate it. So
awesome. All right. Hey, thanks for the invitation. Lovely chatting with you guys. I'll see you later.
Cheers. Thanks.
Yeah. I bought donuts, guys.
Alright, so for what we're going to be doing now is I'm going to be inviting one more person.
Jesse, I know where you live. You want some donuts?
No. Well, of course, actually, you know what? I would love to get some donuts in me, but I won't because I'm already fat enough.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to be bringing in Ian, a friend of mine, Ian, who hopefully will be able to also join on the discussion. If you've got to go, by all means, go for it.
No, I'm good. I've literally just been playing Star Trek Online. That's what movies do to me. I watch a movie, I'm in a Star Trek phase now. Got to play everything Star Trek.
Fair enough. So, I mean, what did you think of the whole discussion? Do you think it was? I thought I was pretty restrained overall. Let's call this the after dark segment.
I thought you were pretty reserved on some of your views. I've heard some of your views before, and I know there's a lot more swearing usually. So,
well, I try to keep this channel PG. I have another channel which is not PG, but no, I don't know. I'm very reserved because I don't want to make any inflammatory statements. I want to kind of get only the facts out there. And the facts are, I believe the facts are, or at least they're not really the facts. My opinions are that as Simon said and as I said, there's a lot of room for improvement. I just don't know how to get that improvement across to them quick enough because every 6 months the technology stacks change. So go.
No, I was gonna say I feel like I'd rather, because my course has computer science and software development, but I much prefer the software development side of it.
Do you feel like? But I mean, do you?
I
feel
think
like,
the thing is that's why they actually don't offer my course anymore. I think they've actually.
But I mean,
split
do you
those
feel like
into two. That was software development and computer science course is two separate things.
Sure. Do you feel like the software development course itself is actually providing you the necessary skills, or do you feel like it's just a very drawn-out introduction to programming?
Well, that's interesting. So, all right. So for the unit that I did last trimester, which was a software development unit. I didn't go into uni once. I didn't look at lectures, and I didn't look at tutes or anything.
Mhm.
I did the assignments, and I did the exam. In fact, the exam was the only time I actually went into the uni. And like I passed. I got high distinctions. I did fine, and like I feel like that's more from I was able to do that more from the experience that I gained whilst working with you and Googling.
So essentially what you're saying is you could have just Googled your course in the span of 2 weeks.
Pretty much. Well, that unit. No, there's a lot of things that like I learned from you that I didn't learn at uni. Like I remember the other day I was in a shoot and there was a person who didn't quite get why we needed to do, say, you've made a custom class or something or object or something, and it's like, I guess object this equals new object of, why they had to do the equals new part, like and like I didn't know that from uni. I knew that from actually working.
Sure. I don't know. I
And a
mean,
variable name, not this, because this can refer to other things.
yeah, I don't know. I'm very torn. I mean, Simon makes a lot of good points, but my experience was just not very good.
But again, I think that comes back to what I was saying to you before. You did a lot of open source development.
Well, do you think? Well, I think. All right. Let me try and. I think actually that's a good point. I think that as someone who's been motivated for a very long time, say a good 15 years of at least hacking computers and hacking with computers, and I use that in the traditional sense of pulling hardware apart and seeing what it does and all those kinds of things. I think that the actual biggest failing of the universities isn't their course itself. Yes, there's a lot of room for improvement there, but I think that the biggest problem is their politics. I think that if you can prove that you have the capability to be doing a master's or a PhD at the age of 19 or whatever, and I know that this is more accepted in the United States, but there is no pathways into university other than TAFE, which really just gets you into a bachelor's degree. I mean, for those kids who spent the last 15 years, hacking away at their computers and have a super deep understanding of the way computers and computer science works, I don't think it's fair on them that when they want to learn something new to just shove them into day one of Hello World. I don't think that there's any point in that.
I agree with you. So like, I dealt with my first year, and my first year was very easy. I didn't really have to go.
But I think that's just a
I
waste
went
of.
because there was a requirement for me to go, but like I would have been fine not going. And like I said, second year subjects, I didn't go to at all, and I did fine. And for someone like you who has done all that, that 15 years, I guess, like you said, it's like it's not fair to put you into anyone like that into a this is how you turn the computer on course. Like I get the bringing everyone up onto the same level from the uni perspective, but like there needs to be a way that you can show the uni that you do have prior learning or you do have prior understanding, that you could probably teach half the classes yourself anyway.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of I had a lot of very abysmal tutors. I had a lot of tutors that just didn't know anything.
And there is recognition of prior learning. Like that's a thing.
No, but
it's like,
there's not.
It's not in the sense of, hey, I've done this myself, I've learned it all myself. It's
I
did this course at this uni, and this is its course code and stuff. Can you recognize it? And like, okay, yes, that course code is recognized. You can have a credit.
What is the point of that though? I don't like what that's only like the most sensible thing to do, of like, yeah, that person's done 6 months of this course, but that's just common sense, right? Like, why not also recognize the fact that someone spent the last 10 years bashing out, whatever kind of computer science or whatever programming that they've been doing. Maybe they've written a programming language. Like, they don't give a shit if sorry, I swore. That's the only swear word I've said in this whole video, people. I know.
Yeah, you're allowed one swear word.
Yeah, I'm allowed one swear word on my channel every single stream. That's actually also true for my last video. So, and that got like out of like 400 people or something that watched it. Maybe no, I don't even think it got any dislikes. It got like 13 likes. So it can't be too bad. I mean, people can't hate me that much for it. But let's say you've contributed to like a programming language, right? That's open source, whether that's like C++ or Rust or whatever. Like, you're a core contributor to that project. How can they possibly have the audacity to not recognize that as prior learning? That is just a despicable thing. Like what a waste of time. How demotivational is that for someone to spend all that time getting to grips with, and their mentors have probably achieved more than most of the tutors will ever achieve. I just don't understand what the logic is in terms of, oh, here's my entire portfolio. Look at all this stuff that I've done. Does it have a course code on it? Well, no, GitHub and stuff doesn't have course codes on it. But no, you don't know anything. Hello world for you, it is. Hello world. And that's the kind of thing that it's so backwards, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. Those are the kinds of things that I really want to change. Not because I ever care for going back to a university, but because I know that my colleagues that I'll have to work with through the next 40 years or whatever, I want them to be able to have the experience and skills and feel like it's worth actually going and learning things by themselves. Like, let's say, for example, that you find something, and it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say, for example, you find a technology that you really like. Now, let's say that's JSON parser. I don't know why. Let's just take that for an example, right?
Yeah.
Let's say there's an open source JSON parser.
Quick jump in. JSON, Ajax. We like our mythical heroes, don't we? In the IT industry.
We love them. But let's just say, for example, that you are really passionate about a specific JSON parser project, and you spend a couple of weeks learning how the whole project works and how to contribute to it and all their code style and everything, which, by the way, is probably not too dissimilar from industry if it was written by somebody in industry. And then you start contributing to that project, right? And you become a core contributor, and you make the project great, and now the project's used by millions of people.
Are you like trying to refer to yourself?
No, I've never contributed to a JSON parser in my life, actually. But you understand why.
Rust.
But I am a Rust contributor, but I'm not a core contributor. But it doesn't matter. That was well after.
I know.
So my point is, right, let's just say that isn't me. Let's just say someone else who doesn't have any industry experience and wants to go to university, but has this prior learning of what I would consider the most important prior learning of having contributed to this JSON puzzle. Like, why on earth wouldn't the universities recognize that? There isn't a logical reason for it in my mind.
Why they wouldn't recognize? I don't know, because I guess, I guess if you can prove it, I don't see why they shouldn't recognize it. But I think from their point of view is it's like you haven't learnt it from an accredited source. What they define as an accredited source is.
But yeah, they'll go and use that. But then they'll go and actually take and use that technology.
Yeah. If you could, all right. This would be like, I hope this happens one day. I hope someone develops something awesome, and I hope uni start using it, and then I hope that person goes to uni and puts him in a first year course, and then he goes, "Hang on, I developed what you are using right now. Why not just give me a degree?" And I hope they turn around and just give me a degree. That would make my day.
That is something that I would love as well to happen. I think that it just makes so much sense. But it doesn't make any money. I think at the end of the day, it comes back to money. I mean, you can't charge someone for a 4-year degree if they showed up for a week, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think that just comes back to their business side of the university is a business, and it's get in, pay your money, do your 4 years, and get the hell out of here. I don't think that there's that passion anymore in the universities like there used to be. And you know. I think that's the one.
Once upon a time, going to uni was free, and that's probably why passion existed more, because
Well, yeah, yeah.
But then you could also argue that now that you have to pay, you should really have to have the passion to do it because it's costing you. So it's like.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't even get me started on a monetized university system. We've got it incredibly lucky in comparison, though, to the states where most people will almost never pay off their student loans.
Oh, wow. You do. You just pay it off in your taxes.
Yeah. Here you do, but over there, I mean, a student loan can be like $100K easily.
Oh, yeah. They don't subsidize it at all from what I know.
Yeah, it's insane. So, all right. I think that's pretty much going to be the end of the stream. So also, I'd like to thank you for your time. And it's also good to have an insight of someone who's doing a course. So, yeah.
That's all right. You're welcome to invite me to the next one.
I don't know what the next one will be. I do believe. For anyone who's wondering what the next live stream will be, I think
he doesn't know, as you just said.
Well, no, I don't know. But okay. So let me explain to people how I come up with live stream ideas. Basically,
I've been annoying him most of the week before.
No. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So. Okay, so basically, my normal weekly content that I record is generally structured, and it's generally something like a tutorial on Rust or on whatever I want to do a tutorial on. Right? If I'm doing a series like my Rust series or whatever programming series I'm doing, then that's what I'll do it on. Right? Whereas my live streams are kind of like, I want to do like an interactive kind of thing where it's like I want to make a game, but I want to make it with my streamers, right? So sorry, I want to make it with my stream. So that's the kind of like people that I'll do it with. That's the kind of things I want to do with like a live stream. This is cool because I wasn't really wanting to do this as a live stream. I wanted to actually do it as a pre-recorded thing. But Google Hangouts made this a lot easier to do. So I just decided to stick it up as a stream. And I did actually end up syndicating it that much. I posted it in like one place. So
you should give me a link, man. I would have posted it around for you.
I was not actually. Yeah, I didn't really care whether people watched it live or not. I will probably syndicate it tomorrow through all of the channels and stuff that I have normally. And I'll actually notify my subscriber base to it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do for my live stream. So my next live stream, actually, I really want to build I want to build a game live. I think that's something that I haven't done. The only problem with that is it's probably like a 5-hour stream. All right, actually, you know what?
That sounds like fun. You should invite me, and then I can go through your chat while you do all your programming.
Yeah, I want to build a game with the stream so everyone can contribute their ideas to the game, and we'll build it.
Yeah. Well, the hard part about that is, though, you know, you've got to build and look at streams. But yeah, excellent. I've shielded myself enough to get me in. I'm done. I'm sorted out for it.
He's in the stream. We might have like I don't know how many people. Those kind of streams are easy to have lots of people in because they're not such like temperamental. This was a fairly temperamental discussion. So, and I needed specific people for it. Yeah, so that'll be my next one. Just a quick announcement, guys. So the next Rust video will be recorded on Thursday. Yeah, the next Rust tutorial comes out on Thursday, and that will be in part 2 of the Functions Remastered videos. And I have decided to pick up Qt tutorials again. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing with them, but I want to be something unique. I don't want to do something like Void Realms because he's kind of got the core of Qt covered. I kind of want to do something a little bit unique. So it will probably be a one-off video for that.
Qt just an IDE?
No, Qt is a framework.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for all of my recorded videos throughout the week. And I hope you enjoyed this, and post your questions and comments in the comment section below. If you have any questions for any of the people in this live stream tonight, leave them in the comment section below, and I will pass them on to those people, and I will have them answer the questions, and I will reply to you. Or I might even, if they're brave enough, I might even get them to just reply directly to the comments in the live stream. And I also want to thank you guys for all the comments you had from your my last live stream. They were all pretty funny. I know it was a very lighthearted live stream. We built a website together where it was like 1999. It was really cool. Anyway, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you later in the week. And I love you all very much, and peace.
Oh, wait, with the comments though, you know, just want to say, Simon's first comment was, "Who wants a job?" So, like, if you guys looking for a job, there you go. He's the guy.
Yeah. All right. So I will talk to you all later, and I love you all. Peace.
Bye.